Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 226 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today, another part 2 episode with my good friend Tay. Tay is a singer and producer based out of Vancouver. We had her on the podcast a couple years ago. I've collabed with Tay on a few songs. JayTrey's Proud of Me, and then last year on the Proven Knowledge album, we had her on Really Love You and the track Faith as well. Always love working with Tay, connecting with her, getting to hear more about her journey. And this week we discussed her new single called All, what she's learned, picking up a different DAW for producing, and producing the majority of her upcoming project, which is coming very soon, and I'm super excited to hear that as well. She talked about what she's been doing in life in general, how she's been able to, free up time to recharge and replenish her creativity as well. And I'm just excited to see what the future holds for our collaborations as well. And hopefully there's a lot more on the horizon with us working together. And she's always welcome back to the show anytime, because like I said, she's an awesome collaborator and an awesome person. And it's great to catch up with her once again. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so welcome everyone to episode 226 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today is another part 2 episode. Awesome collaborator of mine, someone that's worked with myself, worked with JayTrey. We've done even a couple songs since the last time we talked a couple years ago. Based out of Vancouver, awesome artist, awesome producer. Welcome back, Tay, to the show. How you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing really good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Like I said, we both kind of forgot how long it's been. Because I know it's been almost a year since we did the Proven Knowledge album together, and you were on a couple songs, and we'll definitely get into that. Amazing contributions, by the way. And I'm happy to have you back on to kind of catch up from what we discussed a couple years ago. And for those that might not have heard that first episode, just give a brief reintroduction of who you are, when did you get into music, all that sort of thing, just to get us started.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, it feels like, but yeah. The last time we collaborated on that album, it didn't seem like it was a year ago, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it just seems, like it was just yesterday, but yeah, I got into music early on. I took singing lessons for most of my life, and I took a little break from music. And the first episode, I talked about how I did different types of music. I sang jazz and pop, and it wasn't really what I was feeling at the time. I really wanted to do R&B, but it just wasn't, I had to look a certain way and be a certain way, and so I just wasn't feeling it. I took a break from it, and then I came back, and then once you were able to make your own music and do your own thing, I thought, okay, this is my opportunity to just be who I really want to be. And even though it was later in my life, I feel really blessed that I was able to do it now, because now, we have freedom as independent artists. We don't have to, cater to anybody. You can be creatively who you are and be free. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I'm glad you remember even a lot more about the first conversation than I did, because now that's all coming back to me about what we discussed even on that first episode. And I know you've been working on a lot of stuff even since then, and a lot of things behind the scenes as well, which I want to get into. But the first real question that I have for you is, what has been the biggest change for you? It could be musically or in life, since the last time we talked 2 years ago. What do you think that is?
That's a big question. I think musically, I've been trying. I started to learn another DAW system. So I was doing Ableton, and I use both now. I find in terms of producing, I'm doing a lot more producing. Like my next album coming up, I'm trying to do a majority of the producing on that. just growing as an artist that way in terms of learning new things. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work. I'm sure you know. But yeah, I think that's been the biggest sort of change for me. And then I feel like my music is growing in a different way. Like, I just put out a single and it sounds a little different than, you know, what I normally do, like the classic R&B style. So I feel like I've been exploring sort of different, ranges of my music too, which has been really cool.
Yeah. It's crazy because I think being able to, you know, venture out into new things or even being able to expand on things that you're already doing, like you said, it is a lot of work and it's a lot of like undertaking because you have to add it on to what you're already doing as an artist too, and kind of find a way to incorporate it in there as well. I've actually been starting doing Twitch streams this week, and I'll be doing that moving forward on Tuesdays, and I feel like totally new to that whole thing. So that's like my new venture is like, how am I going to get this thing rolling and get the ball rolling with that? So it sounds like that's kind of like the same thing for you on the producing side too, and being able to switch over to a new DAW and learn that. And it's crazy because you'll look back in a year and be like, wow, you know, I've come so far just by the work I've put in. And I know you had told me that in advance that you were working on a lot of the production on the new project, and the first single you dropped is called All. So tell me about that song, because you just dropped it, I think, a few weeks ago. You know, what's the story behind that, and why is that kind of the first offering from the project that you chose to put out?
Well, that kind of came about of chance. Like, actually, you know Matt Buck, right?
Yes,
yeah. We did a song, I think, around the same time as I did the Proven Knowledge piece as well. And I really like his beats. They're just different, and they have a different vibe to them. Anyway, he actually wanted me on a different song, so I made the melody and everything, and then we thought, oh, you know what? Let's make a song out of actually that, and we created a whole new song together. And it came out really, really cool. Like, it just sounded very different, and it had a sort of, it's not the songs that I normally, the style that I sing, as I said before. And so I really liked it. I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. It's kind of different. And yeah, so we just put it out, and I had a lot of really good responses to it. I wasn't sure because it was very different from, I feel like, what I normally do, but I've been getting a good response from it, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah. And shout out to Matt, too, because he's another guy that I had on this show a couple years back. I got to reconnect with him because I've talked to him here and there, but not a ton. And we talked about doing music, too, at one point. It just hasn't really aligned. We've both been kind of doing our own thing. But when I saw that you guys were working together, I was, like, super excited about it because I was like, that's awesome. I love to see, like, people that I know working together. And I'm just excited to see what you guys do moving forward, too, because I think it's a great first step in collaborating too between you guys and how your sounds come together, and that's going to be super awesome to hear. And how do you think that kind of fits in with the rest of the music that we can expect, like, on this new album? Is it pretty different from the other stuff that's going to be included, or is it kind of similar in style and the sound bed that you chose?
Yeah, my album is more of my style of what I've started with. But I think you're going to hear the production, because it's my production. It's just a little bit more, I feel like, you know, I hope that I'm getting better with time, but I feel like it's a little bit more elevated. And I don't want to spoil the surprise, actually, but yeah, I got someone like that, you know, that you've collaborated with on the album as well, so it'll be a surprise. But I'm really excited about that song that I've done with this person, and you know this person pretty well too.
And I don't even know, so it's gonna be a surprise for me too. So
yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
I'm excited now. See, now I'm gonna be racking my brain. I'm like, oh, that could be a lot of people. Could be someone that was on the show. Could be someone that I've just done music with. I don't know, but yeah, that's awesome. So that definitely has me super excited. How would you describe the process of, you know, producing the album so far? Because I don't know if you're completely done with it, if you're wrapping it up, like mixing and things like that. Like, how would you describe the process of, you know, creating the songs conceptually? Were you doing a lot of writing in advance before you started making the beats and things like that? Or was it just you wanted to make everything kind of as you went? start with the producing and then write? Like, tell us more about the process and, kind of how it went.
Yeah, so my process is generally the same. Like, I have to hear a beat or a sample of something that inspires me. And then once I, make the beat or modify the beat or add to the beat, then a song, I attach it to an emotion or a memory. And most of my songs, I know some people think that my songs are about specific people, but they actually are about usually multiple things in one song, but in the same theme, if that makes sense. So if I'm singing about loss, it's usually multiple losses that I like, the emotion that comes up within the song. And then that's how I write the song.
Yeah. Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. And I feel like that is almost the best way for listeners to relate to, when it can apply to different parts of your life, but the listener's life too. And I think that's what makes for the best music too. So, and what would you say is the overall vibe of the project? Like, is there one specific topic that you kind of focus on, or is it just kind of a lot of things you've been dealing with the last several years all kind of combined into one?
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be an album. I feel like it's kind of like a change in me. I've been through quite a difficult things in the last few years. And I feel like, that was expressed in my last album, a lot of it. I think you can feel it a little bit in there, for sure. I tried to, in the last album, like, just keep it still upbeat because it's still positive, but you're still, when you're going through hard times, you still want to express it, but you want to do it also in a positive way.
Yeah.
So that album was kind of that sort of theme. But this is, I feel like I'm finally through the hardest part of my life and, well, hopefully, the hardest part of my life, but I know there's more to come for sure, hard things, but I feel like I'm at a point now where I can handle myself and in those situations. So I feel like this is definitely a more positive album in that way.
Awesome. And I think that's great too, being able to almost do it in a constructive way. You know what I mean? Being able to express those emotions in that way. And like I said earlier, it's kind of just, I feel like the listeners can relate to those sort of stories, you know what I mean? Because they apply it to what they're dealing with in their own life. And that's just kind of that's really just the power of the music in general at the end of the day. So I'm definitely excited for it. So congrats on it. Early congrats on it, honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely want to touch on the collaborations we did last year on the Proven Knowledge album. You were on 2 tracks, Really Love You and Faith, which are 2 of the fan favorites, by the way, because we get compliments on both of those all the time. So I kind of want to know the experience from your end, because obviously me and Jay, our experience was totally different. We weren't in the room together creating these songs. These were emails, these were messages back and forth. And Really Love You, that's your song. You're the main vocalist. That was an idea that I had with my buddy Zach Wilson that was laying around. I remember I emailed you and I was like, can you like do anything with this production? Because I can't get anyone to write to this. And you made such a great song. And then Faith, obviously you came in with the vocals on that as well. So like give us what it was like from your perspective to work on those tracks, and how did that go?
Yeah, I felt so grateful and honored that you actually gave me those songs, because when I heard, for example, Really Love You, like when I heard the piano, I was just absolutely like, wow, this is such a beautiful piano piece. And I wanted to actually do a song to a piano piece, but I'm not the greatest piano player. I just do basic chords and sometimes whatever comes, but that piano piece was just absolutely amazing. And literally, I think I sat down to write that song and it came out within a day, like the basic structure of it, like, because it just connected to me right away. Like I can't explain it in any other way. As soon as I sat down and listened to it a few times, I could feel, the emotion, and it was just so beautiful, that piece. Yeah. I really love that piece, actually.
Yeah. It's crazy because me and Zach, I connected with him. He's a great pianist, by the way, and I'll have to send you his stuff. I don't know if you were able to check it out at all before. He just came out with like his own album, but he's one of the best pianists that I know. I connected with him, and then I think we made those ideas in like 2019. One of them ended up being on Jay's album a couple years ago, and then the last one that I had that I felt good about that I added production to was that one. And I was like, I really want to use this, but I can't find someone that's going to write to it, and it's just all about timing, because obviously you were the person that it needed to be, sent to at the end of the day, because you heard it and you were like, yeah, this is it. I can do something with this. So it just kind of goes to show, like, ideas are never really dead until you completely get rid of them. So it's important to kind of like save those ideas for the right spaces too. And I think it was super awesome to see, how that one came to fruition at the end of the whole process. So, and it added like a different type of element to the album too, because we had a lot of hip hop stuff on that album. But I think that's like, if you're an R&B fan or you're just like a fan of soul in general, you'll love that song. And that was kind of like why I wanted to include it. So thank you again for being on the song and doing that. So
yeah, I mean, that album was such an amazing album. I'm a huge hip-hop fan, especially underground hip-hop. Like I grew up listening to all different people, but and to be able to be on that album, I felt very like, I felt like I made I felt like I made it. Okay, like I made it on this album with all these talented people. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And then the Faith song was just the cherry on top, because I always wanted to be on a hip hop song, and that song was so also very meaningful. And I think people need to hear that song. It's such a healing song, so to be able to be on that and just add the background to me was like, I felt very blessed to be on that. Yeah. Project as well.
Yeah, and that, because to me Faith is my favorite song on the project, and that was one of the older ones, because I remember I think we made that around the time we were making like Jay's Basilia 2, which we had you a part of as well. So it was around that time, and I think he wrote that whole first verse, and I was like, this is just like, what he's talking about is so like great and just stellar and important. And then I think he wanted to get Mike on it. And then Mike is the one that came up with the idea to have someone else. He's like, if you get a vocalist on this to add like background in and just different melodies, that'll bring it to a whole new level. Because we didn't even think about that. So that's really Mike's idea. So we got to, shout out Mike Dance for sure. And like I said, both their verses are incredible. And then you came in just to add that in. And it just took it really did. It took it to a whole new level. So, yeah, again, thank you so much for, being a part of the album. And when we do it again, because we're already getting people asking, when are we doing the next one? And I'm like, it took so much time to do. So I don't know. Like, it'll probably be a few years, but when we do another one, we got to get you back. And we got to get, hopefully people that were on the first album want to come back as well to do the next one. And hopefully do it even bigger and better. But yeah, it's definitely exciting, and thank you again for your contributions. So.
Oh, thank you. No, that is an incredible album. You guys should be so proud of it. It is an amazing album.
Yeah. Definitely appreciate that, and appreciate everybody listening as well out there. So before we get going, I did want to know as well, other than music or even outside of creating this album, finishing this album, what have you been doing to kind of, keep yourself centered, keep yourself balanced as far as being able to stay creative? Could be hobbies, could just be living life in general. Like, what has that led you to in the past few months or really the past year?
Yeah, I think the other thing that I forgot to mention was I think my work ethic has shifted. I think the first couple of albums I did, I really pushed myself like, okay, I can't waste time. I can't, but with this one, I actually wanted a different approach of just going more with the flow. And when I feel, obviously there's still a timeline, but it's not like, okay, I got to do this today and I want it to be more free and creative and less boundaries, less pressure, and just more free. Yeah. So I do still, obviously I don't slack off to the point where I don't get anything done, but it's a little bit more relaxed. And outside of actually this music thing, I am actually a mental health practitioner. So this is part of my thing that I do that helps me. And I do a ton of meditation. I do meditation pretty much every day. I also do counseling outside. I'm, work out, try to be in nature all the time. Like if you follow my Instagram, you'll see like I'm always out in nature. Like that's probably my number one source of, just calming, and being in nature really helps me just to be at peace. Yeah. So, and my dog, like I like being with animals and just being, hanging out with my dog, going for walks. And that to me is like, gives me so much joy. Yeah. So those are some of the things that I do.
Awesome. I was going to say, I feel like your dog is, like a low-key superstar on Instagram, honestly, because I see your dog a lot in a lot of the stories and stuff. So I already knew for sure that your dog is a big part of your life as well. So that's super awesome.
Yeah, actually, I took a 10-year break from music to do dog sport. So, and so dog sport was a huge part of my life. I took a break from music because I was frustrated, and I found this new hobby. And we did really well. We went to the nationals together, and then I quit that, and then I went back to music. So it's been kind of like a nice transition back into it.
Yeah, having that a part of the journey in general, definitely super important. So congrats on that as well. And is there anything that you want people to know about? It could be a date they could expect the project, or anything else you're working on that you're super excited about.
Not really. Mostly like the next album, I feel like I really hope that people will be able to hear the change and the growth in, just learning how to be a better producer. My dream was to always be like a songwriter and make my own music. So, I mean, I have definitely been part of that throughout all of my songs, but this is going to be a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to seeing how people react to it, and hopefully they find it, healing. And that's mostly why I do this, right? Is to, provide some of that.
Yeah. And help inspire others for sure. So that's definitely always the goal. And do you have any final words of wisdom before we get out of here?
You asked me that last time, I remember. No, not really. Okay. The only thing I could say is, with everything going on in the world today, just try to find some time, for yourself, and the small things, just the little things in life that bring you joy. I know there's a lot of people that are struggling, and, especially with the work that I do. So find the little things in life, and hopefully, just get to that next day. And it's been very helpful just to go step by step every day.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, honestly. And Tay, I got to say, once again, thank you so much for wanting to come back on the show. I'm excited for the project. Congrats on the new single. And I know we're going to be doing more collaborations very soon in the near future. So keep up the great work, and you're welcome back anytime. You want to come back for a part 3, let me know. So thank you.
For sure, for sure.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 226. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds. If you want more in-depth content, be sure to check out the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/AnthonyChurch24, every Tuesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And until next week, we'll see you then, and thanks for listening, everyone.